Take a moment to make any adjustments to your body, to your sitting position, to enable it to settle here. One detail that I find very helpful is aligning the crown of the head with the tailbone. And very often that invites a kind of a leaning back and also makes us aware that we are often in a state of leaning forward. So the slight leaning back until you feel that alignment, like a plumb line from the crown to the tailbone. And there might even be a little bit of a movement of the ears backwards as they slide over the shoulders. You can feel the position of the shoulders over the hips. And just notice how those slight adjustments affect your inner experience. Oftentimes when we come into stillness at the beginning of a meditation practice, there can be an awareness of our being leaning into the future. And that can be an actual physical leaning, which we can correct quite easily just by readjusting the body a little bit. But it can also be a tendency for the mind to get ahead of us. And as it does that, there can often be a response from the emotional and the energetic body as well, usually a mixture of feelings. Generally, there'll be some anxiety there. And I bring awareness to this today in our meditation because it's a common state, and so common that we actually don't really notice that it's happening. That even if we have the strongest intention of being here now, there is a kind of mental, energetic, and physical leaning into the future. And so today I would like to bring awareness to that tendency, not to criticize it, because certainly we have been rewarded in our culture for our capacity to plan and to reach goals, to produce. And so this tendency is very understandable. However, it creates a gap between this here now, the only thing that's actually happening, and our capacity to really settle here. And so today I'm simply inviting you to notice that tendency, to notice how the body shows up when we're in that pattern, to notice the feelings that arise in our system, and to do so with kindness, with just a kind of an availability, a curiosity that is just noticing a very natural and understandable pattern and is not going into battle with it. In fact, it's the opposite. There's a kind of a kindness. And that in and of itself can open up this vertical alignment that brings us into this present moment, even though that this present moment includes this tendency to lean into the future. And so both will coexist for a while, this sense of here and now, this sense of vertical alignment, both physically but also energetically, as well as a sense of this tendency, this pattern, this habit, you could say, that we have to lean into the future. And so for a while, they will both have to coexist. And we can experience for ourselves that presence is able to hold these two seeming opposite states. And just notice how this leaning into the future, how it lands, how it registers in the body. You may feel like there's just this kind of motor running. And it could feel like, I use the word anxiety, but some kind of inability to really settle and relax. And so I'd like to include that. We're opening to the whole constellation of details that co-arise with this tendency to lean into the future. And we're letting it all just be here. This is how these patterns unravel, not by strong holding them into something different, certainly not through criticism, but just, oh, I can be here now, and this tendency can also be here. It's an adaptive pattern of the surface self. And you may notice that when you cooperate with it and you just allow it to be, you let go of trying to control it, you move out of battle with it, you may begin to notice a kind of a settling that happens, which is typical when we let go of trying to manipulate our experience. There's a kind of a settling that happens. And the pattern itself doesn't seem to survive this kind of generosity. It begins to unwind itself. And we might notice, as I'm noticing here, kind of an opening and a blossoming, particularly in the root chakra, in the belly. There's kind of this a warmth and a filling, a steadiness that begins to rise up into consciousness. And you may even feel a little bit more aligned with the present. And one of the things that will happen with this practice is that as you shine the light on a pattern such as leaning into the future, which has most likely served you up until now, as you shine a light on it and the pattern begins to kind of settle and just really come into the transformation that naturally happens when it's open to with such availability. It may also reveal unintegrated energies in the system that may be the core reason why we lean into the future. Why else would we lean into the future but because we want to avoid now? And why would we want to avoid now? Generally, it's because there's something in the now that we are afraid of. And usually it's a feeling that's arising in the body. So this tendency to go into the future was to avoid perhaps a sense of inadequacy, perhaps a sense of fear. I don't know what it's going to be for you, but just notice that as you open to this tendency and you let it be, and a sense of present moment alignment starts becoming stronger in your experience, there may also be a summoning forth of energies, very often in the chakras, that just present themselves to also be included in the light of awareness. So personally, I'm noticing quite a bit of energy in the throat area, and that may or may not be your experience. So as you settle back here in the present, in the presence of presence, consciousness will bring forth layers to be also included, to be set free. And just notice that these may trigger kind of a reactive leaning into the future, and then just kind of settle back, just be here now, and allow what is arising to liberate itself. Experience for yourself that it's happening quite organically, quite simply. In time, you may notice that there is primarily an awareness of just this present moment. And of course, you can just simply rest in this state of meditation and let yourself be nourished by that.